got a hold of the arm here with his head and his neck, controlling Shane Carwin's head and his neck with his left arm.
Lay there. Oh,
whoa!
Borg refusing. There it is! Demetrious Johnson!
Fighters have long admired mixed martial arts for the variety of striking and grappling styles it uses. Every fighter has their own fighting style. Within the many exciting parts of mixed martial arts, submissions stand out. These are the sickest, most famous, and most dangerous submissions in UFC and MMA history. The rarity, the difficulty, and the skill shown are even more reasons why these submissions are fan favorites. 1. Anderson Silva's triangle choke against Chael Sonnen, UFC 117. In the history of the UFC, Anderson Silva's triangle choke win over Chael Sonnen at UFC 117 was one of the best chokes ever. Silva was defending his middleweight title, and many people thought he was the best fighter in the world pound for pound. Chael Sonnen, on the other hand, had Silva on the ground and punched him for 4.5 rounds, making him look weak. However, Silva got Sonnen in a triangle choke in the last few minutes of the 5th round. Sonnen tried to get out of the hold, but Silva baited him and locked him in tighter, making Sonnen tap out. 2. Frank Mir's Kimura on Antônio Rodrigo Nogueira, UFC 140. Frank Mir is famous for how good he is at submissions, but the one he did on Antônio Rodrigo Nogueira at UFC 140 is still one of the bloodiest and most shocking in MMA history. Nogueira, a famous athlete and black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, gave Frank trouble right from the start. But when the fight got down to the ground, Mir put Nogueira in a Kimura, or a double joint arm lock. Nogueira tried to fight out of the submission instead of tapping, but Mir tightened the hold and broke Nogueira's arm. The sound of Nogueira's arm snapping and the fact that a master of jiu-jitsu like Nogueira had been so badly submitted made this one of the sickest and biggest fan favorite submissions ever. 3. Demetrious Johnson's Mighty Wiz Bar, UFC 216. Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson is widely regarded as one of the most technical fighters in MMA history. His performance against Ray Borg at UFC 216 demonstrated why. After dominating Borg for a few rounds, Johnson hit one of the coolest and most surprising submissions in the history of the sport in the 5th round. Johnson lifted Borg into the air from a suplex, and as Borg fell, Johnson quickly changed positions and put him in an arm bar in the air. The move was so smooth that everyone was amazed. It is still one of the most creative submissions in the sport. 4. Tony Ferguson's Darce choke on Edson Barboza, The Ultimate Fighter 22 finale. Tony, aka El Cucuy Ferguson, is known for having a crazy and unusual style, both in his striking game and his ground game. His Darce submission over Edson Barboza at the Ultimate Fighter 22 finale shocked the entire community with how cool it was. After a wild and messy fight, Ferguson grabbed Barboza's neck during a scramble and put him in a deep Darce choke. What made this submission so sick was how Ferguson moved so smoothly into it in the middle of chaos, and how hard he was working to get the finish. Barboza, who is known for being tough, had no choice but to tap. 5. Brock Lesnar's arm triangle on Shane Carwin, UFC 116. Brock Lesnar's takedown of Shane Carwin at UFC 116 was shocking, not only because of the move itself, but also because of what was going on in the fight. Carwin is known for being a heavy-handed knockout artist. He was dominating Lesnar and had full control over him in the 1st round, almost beating him up with strikes. But Lesnar, who is better known for his wrestling and ground and pound, was able to handle the attack and come back strong in the 2nd round. Once Lesnar had the upper hand, he moved to side control and locked in a tight arm triangle choke, which is usually hard to do against bigger, stronger opponents. Carwin was so tired that he had no choice but to tap out. 6. Nate Diaz's rear naked choke on Conor McGregor, UFC 196. When Nate Diaz stepped in on short notice to fight Conor McGregor at UFC 196, few expected the Stockton native to have much success. McGregor was riding a wave of hype after knocking out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds and was widely considered the next big superstar in MMA. However, after weathering McGregor's initial storm, Diaz turned the tide in the second round. Diaz, known for his elite jiu-jitsu, rocked McGregor with punches before taking the fight to the ground, where he quickly secured a rear naked choke. McGregor, exhausted and hurt, tapped out, leading to one of the most famous upsets in UFC history. Diaz's submission not only shocked the MMA world, but also led to the iconic post-fight interview where he proclaimed, "I'm not surprised, mother." 7. Fabricio Verdum's guillotine on Fedor Emelianenko, Strikeforce, Fedor vs. Verdum. Before his fight with Fabricio Verdum at Strikeforce in 2010, Fedor Emelianenko was thought to be invincible. Many people thought the Russian heavyweight was the best MMA fighter of all time because he had never lost in his prime. Verdum, a skilled BJJ black belt, had other ideas though. Early in the first round, Fedor hit Verdum and rushed in to finish him, but Verdum was smart and drew Fedor into his guard. After that, Verdum put the Russian under a tight triangle choke and an armbar, which made him tap. Everyone was shocked by the submission, which was Fedor's first real loss. It also cemented Verdum's status as one of the best heavyweight grapplers in MMA. 8. Charles Oliveira's standing rear naked choke on Dustin Poirier, UFC 269. Charles Oliveira's submission win over Dustin Poirier at UFC 269 was nothing less than Oliveira flexing his prowess. Oliveira, the reigning lightweight champion, fought Poirier, who was one of the most dangerous strikers in the sport, in a title match that also became one of the most anticipated matches. After a back-and-forth first round, the second and third rounds were just complete domination from Oliveira. In the third round, Oliveira got on Poirier's back and slowly worked to put him in a rear naked choke. Poirier had to tap because he was stuck and couldn't get out. 9. Shinya Aoki's hammerlock on Mizuto Hirota, Dream 11. Shinya Aoki, one of Japan's most iconic MMA fighters, is famous for his submission skills. But his hammerlock submission of Mizuto Hirota at Dream 11 was just brutal and left the audience in shock. After getting Hirota to the ground, Aoki is locked in a hammerlock, a rare shoulder lock submission. Hirota refused to tap, and Aoki, showing no mercy, cranked the submission until Hirota's arm broke. The visual impact of Hirota's arm hanging limply and Aoki's unapologetic celebration afterward made this one of the most controversial and vicious submissions in MMA history. 10. Ronda Rousey's armbar on Miesha Tate, Strikeforce, Tate vs. Rousey. Ronda Rousey burst into the mixed martial arts scene with a run of armbar finishes. Her rivalry with Miesha Tate was one of the most heated beefs in women's MMA. Tate was the bantamweight champion when they first fought in Strikeforce. Rousey, on the other hand, was a rising star whose only wins came by armbar in the first round. Even though it was close, Rousey's constant pressure and judo moves were what knocked Tate to the ground in the end. Right after, Rousey put Tate in her famous armbar. Tate tried her best to get out, but she had to tap or risk breaking her arm. This defeat not only won Rousey the Strikeforce title, but it also made her a star and set the stage for her rise to fame in the UFC. 11. Khabib Nurmagomedov's neck crank on Conor McGregor, UFC 229. Back in 2018, even if you lived under a rock, you knew about Khabib and Conor McGregor, the fight. Khabib Nurmagomedov's submission of Conor McGregor at UFC 229 was more than just a win, it was personal. The build-up to the fight had been filled with animosity, trash talk, and intense drama. After knocking McGregor to the ground in the 4th round, Khabib took control of the fight and used a neck crank, a brutal submission that targets the neck and spine. McGregor tapped out because he was stuck and in a lot of pain. Khabib became known as one of the best fighters of all time with the submission win, which also stopped one of the most heated rivalries in UFC history. However, Conor still mentions Khabib here and there, trying to mock him, but Khabib chooses to stay silent, which irritates Conor much more than it would if Khabib responded. That wraps up the video. If you enjoyed this video, please show us your support by liking our video and subscribing to our YouTube channel with the bell notifications on so you never miss another upload on our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.